Am I being too paranoid about my husband's new friendship with a woman? Background information. I am 37. My husband is 33. And Jessica is 26. I was a camping trip with my husband. I'm not a big fan of camping at all, but I agreed to come because my husband is really outdoorsy. We went with 4 other people, a couple. Jim and Kate. Kate's friend Christopher and his sister, Jessica. I guess I'm looking for advice on if I'm being too paranoid or not. My husband really doesn't have any female friends. Not for any reasons. Just the way it is. So I've never had to deal with this. When we got here we began to set up the tents. But again, I know nothing about camping, so I was pretty useless, but Jessica isn't. So she volunteered to help my husband. After that, her and my husband spent almost the entire trip together. They spent the entire time talking to each other, joking around. If I didn't want to do or go somewhere, there was a particularly tricky hike, kayaking, etc. And the moment I wasn't there, Jessica jumped in to take my spot. In all of the photos she's right next to my husband. They're talking and laughing in literally every photo. There was one night where I fell asleep early, and when I woke up at 3 a.m. they were sitting next to each other at the fire, and apparently they had been there for hours, just the two of them. When we got home I talked to my husband about how I felt a little uncomfortable with how close him and Jessica had been on the trip, and he told me I was looking into things too much. He enjoyed spending time with Jessica because he liked her as a person and they like doing the same outdoorsy things. But I know they've been in contact since we've gotten home. I'm just worried because my husband and I are working on building back our trust after something that happened 2 years ago. Not cheating. So I'm just wondering if I'm looking into things too deeply or not. I think you have to share what happened 2 years ago. She's a friend of a family friend, so this seems safer than if he was interacting with a stranger. I think the main thing is that their new bond underscores how unclose and inharmonious you and your husband are. If you were talking, laughing and closely engaged with him, he wouldn't have time or much room to fill that space. But you do not like what he likes, so these trips are not real bonding trips for you. That's the real problem. I am sure some part of him is thinking Jessica fulfills a need. He wanted to be social and enjoy the trip. His personality likely vibed with hers more than anyone else's. It could stop there and snag him a casual friendship. Still, it should be a private concern for you, since at some point he might prefer her entirely and for more than just friendship. Because people want to do things with their mates and be in sync with them. Hopefully you and hubby can work on that. Something happened? Well, I've been in this situation, and what said was, as your partner I trust you. I understand it's fun and exciting to meet someone with a shared interest, and I will leave it to you to define this relationship with respect for us and our relationship in mind, and to keep it platonic and above board. That includes keeping me informed of the time you spend with her and what you are doing. I'm paraphrasing, of course. I wasn't nearly that eloquent, but I would share the same concern and hear the same alarm bells. In the end, he is a grown man and will do what he wants to do. But you are his partner and he needs to respect you. I asked to be informed of what they were doing together, mostly so that if my friends saw them out I wouldn't look foolish. And you know what? Sure enough, she wanted more. People don't act this way unless there is an attraction there, hard fact. Especially when the spouse is right there. Keep an eye up. Trust but take no SHT. Up. I think we need some clarity. Did he know you weren't going to do the big hikes and kayaking? Was he not willing to work on a compromise with you? Easier trails, lighter kayaking, etc. What were you expected to do all day while they did those things? I personally cannot imagine going on a camping trip with my wife and then having her leave me to do activities she knew I wouldn't want to do. expecting me to just sit around alone for 8+ hours in the middle of nowhere. I'd never go on such a trip. Edit. I also don't know why you'd want to go on a trip where you knew you wouldn't participate in anything and then get upset that he did it with the people present that actually wanted to. We gotta know what happened 2 years ago going to give us better understanding. You should post this in the r/marriage subreddit. A lot of people here are inexperienced and have never even been in a long-term relationship, let alone been married. If you trust him, you trust him. But I'd certainly keep an eye on this friendship. As a man who has never had a friend relationship with a female, he may not have a full understanding of what boundaries he needs to have for himself, i.e. what is and is not appropriate. Kayaking and hiking, sure. Long intimate conversations alone around the fire at 3 a.m. no. I often find that there is a pretty good reason that some men have never had female friends, and usually it's because they either don't feel the need for female friends, or because any friendship develops into something more. Just remember, boundaries are about you, not about you trying to control the other person. But before you do anything, I'd sit down and talk to him about his boundaries with the opposite sex. What is he okay with? What would make him feel like he is crossing the line? It will give you a better perspective on your own feelings and how to approach the situation. I like that we have reasonable responses instead of everyone jumping to conclusion. First thing I thought reading this is my dad and mom have been happily married for 30 years. My dad does not have female friends. My mom does not have straight male friends. My dad will only ever say, "Your mom is my only female friend, therefore I'm not someone who particularly believes in the dynamic of straight opposite gender friends." The activities together did not seem weird. She is single. They would probably gravitate towards each other for group activities since you aren't there. It seemed normal until you hit the 3 a.m. sitting next to each other by the fire. That feels very odd to me. So no, I don't think you're being paranoid. It seems you're feeling insecure about your lack of shared hobbies with your husband. I think you should have a discussion with your husband about your feelings since it clearly bothers you and set boundaries together around that relationship. You could also maybe find something you and your husband enjoy doing together. I think you do need to have a frank convo with your spouse. I get it that people connect at times. There is nothing wrong with that. It's okay. And your spouse, any person really, can talk to people at any time. The thing is, with him and her chatting for hours at night near a campfire is a very romantic time. To people, feelings were probably all over the place, and even if he didn't view it thusly, I'm willing to bet that gal was and now has thoughts about him. I would ask him about if he understands how it looks to you. How would he feel if he had gone to bed and woke up at 3 a.m. to you chatting with some guy in a romantic situation? Even if he saw nothing, what would he legit think? If he says he wouldn't think anything, well, he's lying or the most obtuse man alive. But don't go blaming him or not trusting him. This is about how it looks and boundaries. Nothing happened there. It doesn't mean anything beyond him meeting a like-minded person. If he talks to her after this and doesn't loop you in, then I'd rethink it. See, I was thinking this was perfectly innocent until you mentioned they keep in contact after the trip is over. For why? Are they planning on going on a camping trip together? Going hiking alone? Has Jessica made an effort to also be your friend on social media? Did he seek her out of vice versa? If she added him, it could be that he was just trying to be polite. Okay, we are fine with that. If he is talking to her and doing the typical getting to know you conversation, it sounds like the beginnings of an emotional affair. Sorry if it seems like I'm jumping the gun, but seen these situations before. Is Jessica also friendly with you? If I spent time talking to a married man at a camping trip with 3 other people there including his wife, I would likely be investing just as much energy into being friends with his wife as I was him. I don't know enough details to be able to tell if you are overreacting or not. I can say that where there is a smoke there is fire. I'm sure he wouldn't be too excited if he woke up at 3 a.m. to you by the fire talking to some dude in his 20s for hours alone. Someone said that people nowadays consider every boundary in a relationship, yet alone marriage, to be toxic. They were with each other the whole trip. They were talking for hours while everyone else was asleep. Imagine if she was the one that wrote a post about being inseparable with another dude she just met on a trip while her husband was there with her, too. You would surely tell her that isn't good or healthy. You guys need to work things out. Try to be more engaged in things he enjoys. No, I think staying up with her alone at 3 a.m. is a bit inappropriate in my opinion. For me it comes down to this. He has continued contact after the trip. Years ago, my wife and I went on one of those package tours where you take a bus place to place with the same group for a week. Turns out we got to know a couple. And I hit it off with the wife in the sense of similar career, shared sense of humor and movie likes. She was great to talk to. My wife also got along with the husband, but not nearly as much. But once the trip was over, so was the contact. The woman was a vacation buddy, and I didn't take the friendship beyond that. More generally, it comes down to this. My wife and I put each other first. We certainly give each other the right to veto each other's opposite-sex friends. I don't think of it as her controlling me, or me her. Rather, it is a conscious choice. I want my wife happy or comfortable far more than I need any particular friend. For example, I have a female friend for 40 years, known her longer than my wife. My wife trusts this friendship so much that when she traveled to see her mom for a few weeks for her mom's surgery, she suggested I contact the friend and hang out and do things so I wouldn't get lonely. So platonic male-female friendships are fine, but it's the job of the person wanting such a friendship to work to make it okay with the spouse. What you describe on the outside does seem like the kind of behavior that kickstarts relationships. I remember meeting my GF, now fiancé, and it was just like that. Loads in common and a natural connection. We talked for hours and hours and it passed in a blink. I would definitely make it known to your husband that whatever the truth may be, you don't wish him to stay in contact with Jessica. Be honest and give him the valid reason behind your decision. It is a reasonable request, as it is definitely a risk otherwise. If he respects you as his wife, then the request will not be seen as unreasonable and he will cease contact. If he doesn't, then that would suggest to me that he either is pursuing something with her or does not see your concerns as valid, which in itself in a marriage is a red flag. Sorry you are in this situation. No, you are not being paranoid. Is Jessica single? How do you think it feels to love a person who doesn't share your passion at all? The outdoors is his passion and he shared it platonically with someone, not secretly. What is your passion? Reading? If your husband didn't like books and there was a man at your book club that you could talk to for an hour about your favorite books, would that be cheating? Or just human? Maybe use this as a learning experience. The lack of shared experiences in the outdoors is a weak spot in your relationship. So address it. Do more outdoorsy things together. Research and find things that you'll be okay with. Kayaking? Gravel cycling? Hiking? Be proactive. Always trust your instincts. I personally would be wary and monitor the situation. Seems a little disrespectful to get so close to a married man in my opinion.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.